Alright, so this is going to be a translation and a discussion of Pliny's letter 727, and this is obviously going to be over the chapters. I guess it's a continuation of chapter 7, and so therefore let us go ahead and go through these lines 29 through 35 in our textbook. So remember that we have a series of ghost tales. The first one we've already talked about. Now we're in the midst of the second one, which is obviously about this haunted house, and it has been abandoned, but now a philosopher by the name of Athenodorus has showed up, has really been appealed by the cheapness of the rent, and has then eagerly rented out the place. So, Ubi quiepit ad vesperascere. This is from Ecce Romani around chapter 17 or so. It means obviously to get dark, and it is an inceptive verb in which you see that SC, which indicates a beginning initial action that is not continued. Remember as well, quiepit is one of those three verbs that are defective. They include koipi, koipisse, which they are only going to be perfect or pluperfect or future perfect. The second one is odi, odisse, and the third one obviously is memini. Meminisse. So here it means to begin. When it began to get dark, he orders a bed to be laid out. Now we're implying the bed, but he orders it to be laid out. And sterni is from that verb sterno, sternere, stravi, stratus. It's where we get the word like stratus clouds, or those flat clouds that are the clouds laid out, as it were, like a layer. It's where we get the word also stratigraphy, which describes the layers of Earth as a subset of geology. Nevertheless, he orders it to be laid out for himself in the first part of the house. That long US could be genitive singular, which it is here, or it could be nominative plural in the fourth declension, or it could be accusative plural, but here obviously is going to be the genitive singular. Nevertheless, he demands, posco poscere, pugilares, he orders a stilum, he orders a lumen, as it were. Now, the pugilares that he is ordering, obviously, for himself here, is going to be the sort of writing tablets that one would expect. And so as a philosopher, you would expect him, obviously, to have these sorts of things. So he demands writing tablets, he demands a pencil, a stylus, he demands a light, and he sends away. Remember that medo, midere, misi, misus can mean, obviously, to send, or it can mean even to lose. And so here we can say he loses all of his own family members, or he sends away all of his own family members into the interiors. And he himself, however, he stretches his mind, he intends his eyes, he intends his hands, and to intend something is obviously to focus it, as it were, to stretch out for it. And so he stretches his mind, he stretches his eyes, he stretches his hands ad scribendum, for the purpose of writing. This is a gerund, as it is not modifying anything, and it is obviously the object of ad, which, remember, gerunds and gerundums with ad or gratia or causa are going to imply a purpose, and so for the purpose of writing. He does this, nay. This is a negative purpose clause, and so you can translate it so that not or lest. And so that not or lest his empty mind. When you are not actually focusing on something, when you are not actively engaged, you can let your mind wander, and that's not what he wants here. He wants to be, obviously, razor sharp and alert. And so therefore, he does all of this. He stretches his mind, eyes, and hand for the purpose of writing, lest his empty mind make up stuff. In other words, imagine. Fingo, fingere, fixi, fictus is where we get the word fiction. And what would his minds make up? Images having been heard, that is the accusative direct object, and your second one, inanes metus, and pointless fears for himself. And so he doesn't want to obviously let his imagination get running away with him, and so he does this by obviously focusing on his writing, and so therefore he's ready in case there is an encounter with this ghost. In the beginning, initially, if you would like, initio, what sort of everywhere? And so in other words, is what you would expect, the sort of situation at all places. This is where we obviously get the word ubiquitous, which is the English word that means everywhere. The silence of the night. And so therefore, at the beginning, it's exactly what you would expect it to be in an empty house, just simply silence. Then, dane, which is short for dane day. And what we have here is then going to be a series of historical infinitives. Concuti is the passive infinitive from kudo, kudere. Same thing with moeri, a passive infinitive from moio, moere. And so then the iron is struck. But here, remember, we should not say is struck, we should say was struck, because historical infinitives are best translated as simple past. And so then the iron was struck, and the chains, the vincula, they were moved. And so he begins to hear it. This ghost is now going to make its appearance. Ille, that guy, and again, more historical infinitives with tolerare, which of course is from tolo tolerare sustuli sublatus. That guy did not lift up his eyes, nor did he send away his pencil, so he keeps writing his stylus, but he offamare, he strengthened, again, another historical infinitive. Historical infinitive, historical infinitive, historic infinitive, historical infinitive, and he strengthened his mind, and he praetendre, and he stretched with his ears, and so therefore he's going to become heightened in his focus. He's trying to listen to really see what is this sound, what is this image, what is this thing that is going to make its appearance to him, obviously. Then the crashing, the noise, the fragor, it, again, what we have here is another historic infinitive. It increased, and so the noise got louder and louder, this metallic sound of that iron and the chains. And then it, the crashing, or you can understand it as the ghost, it approached another historic infinitive. Again, we translate historic infinitives as simply verbed. And the reason why we have so many historic infinitives is that it is a narrative technique to really try and make it seem as though the action is really quick. The action is, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. It's almost like it all happens at one time. It's kind of like when people are in a car crash. They always describe it, I don't know, it just happens so fast. And that's exactly what's going on here. All of these actions, all of this stuff happens so fast, and so therefore we're going to be using, obviously, the historic infinitive. And so, the crashing, the ghost, it approached. And now, as, remember, when there is no subjunctive, and there is no subjunctive, we just have these historic infinitives, is going to be translated as. And now, as on the threshold, that of course, limen, limenis, and here obviously it is limine in the ablative because it is the object of in. And now, as inside the threshold, so it's actually in the room with him, the threshold is the doorway obviously, it was heard. He looks back, he looks at it, he spots it, he looks for it, respicit, and he sees it, and he recognizes it, and what is the it that he recognizes? The effigium. It's where we get the word effigy. An effigy is an image of something. When you burn someone an effigy, you take their image and you burn it. And so therefore an effigy is merely an image of something. He sees, he spots, he recognizes the image. The one having been told, a perfect passive participle, in other words, so this is what I've been hearing so much about, the one having been told, sibi, to him. So we're at the moment that this philosopher who has rented the house, knowing that he has been told that there is a ghost in there, he actually sees the thing. And so we find out in the next chapter what both the image, the ghost, the apparition, and the reaction of the philosopher is. So keep studying, and again, make sure you know these words, make sure you know the structures, make sure you know the, of course, grammatical content as well as the vocabulary. Best of luck, keep studying.